Om Sahana Vavatu Sahanau Bhunaktu Saha Viryam Karavavahai Tejasvinavadhitamastu ma vidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Om Sadashiva Samarambham Shankaracharya Madhyamam Asmadacharya Paryantam Vande Guru Paramparam. Shruti Smriti Purananam Alayam Karunalayam Namami Bhagavatpadam Shankaram Lokashankaram. Shankaram Shankaracharyam Keshavam Badarayanam Sutrabhashya Kritau Vande Bhagavantau Punah Punah. Samasta Jana Kalyane Niratam Karunamayam Namami Chinmayam Devam Sadgurum Brahma Vidvaram. Hari Om, salutations to all. So this topic of Maya, the word Maya, when we think of, it is used in so many different ways. Very popular and common one, a lot of people even wear t-shirt about it, ye sab moh maya hai. So one thinks this is all moh maya, this is delusion, this is illusory. Sometimes one thinks of Maya, so one says, Swamiji, हम तो माया के चक्कर में फंस गए हैं, आप उससे मुक्त हो गए हैं. Because they think marriage is Maya, money is Maya, enjoyment is Maya, family is Maya. So one generally thinks Maya is outside. What does Vedanta say about Maya? So in your study of Maya, you have studied Maya in which texts? In Tattva Bodh? Okay. Any other text?
Kindle Life.
Kindle Life. Self-unfoldment. Okay. So, various ways to understand Maya. At one level, like Tulsidas ji says in Ramayana, मैं और मोर तोरते ही माया. I and me, I and mine, you and yours. मैं और मोर तोरते ही माया. This Bhagwan Ram tells Lakshman ji in the forest. When they are in the exile, the question is asked by Lakshman ji. That portion is called Ram Gita. So there he asks about Maya, Bhakti, Jnana. So when defining Maya, there Tulsidas ji says in Aranyakand, मैं और मोर तोरते ही माया. I and mine, you and yours. This psychological distinction where there is an attachment that forms. So in simple words, that is Maya. At practical level, if we want to apply that, if I want to come out of Maya, what should I come out of? I should come out of my attachments. Because attachment is Maya. And it is the attachment that which binds us. The greater the attachment, the deeper is the sorrow also. In the Gita also Bhagavan begins with that. Dhritarashtra begins with that. Mamakaha Pandavaschaiva. My children and Pandu's children. So this psychological distinction when it is done. These are my people, they are not my people. Where one depends on certain people, certain things, certain situations for happiness, then that attachment is Maya. And why is that attachment called Maya? Is it not natural to be attached? Maya, we think of it as some illusion, right? Something that is not real. And so why is attachment called as Maya? Anyone?
Because there are expectations connected with attachment.
Because there are expectations connected with attachment. So, but why is that Maya then? Expectations may be there. Even right now you have expectation, no? That I will come, we will have satsang. I have expectation that you would come. So, can expectation make it Maya? What else?
Attachments don't last.
Attachments don't last.
Temporary pleasure.
So, if attachments don't last, no problem. As long as it lasts, I'll enjoy it. That way, anyway, everything is temporary.
Because attachment causes sorrow.
That's the result of attachment. So, why is attachment Maya then? Attachment can cause sorrow. Like love can bring happiness, attachment brings sorrow. Like that, each one has its own result, right? But why is that called Maya? Tulsidaji says, I and mine, you and yours is Maya. So, why is attachment called Maya?
Because if we are all one, then there's the question of attachment. And so the fact that there is attachment, you have in duality.
So, if we all are one, there is no need for attachment because duality only brings attachment. Okay. So, because there is duality, that duality is Maya or the attachment is Maya?
Both, no? Swamiji? The duality, the fact that I feel something is different from you.
So, duality causes attachment?
Yeah.
Really?
Duality.
That way, though, the realized person also sees duality, no? But the realized person is not attached.
So it's the ignorance that causes.
So then we are going into the cause of the duality. The question still remains, why is attachment called Maya? No doubt, duality is one way to understand Maya. So we will come to that Vedantic aspect later. First, we focus on the attachment part. Somebody was saying something there. Can we live without attachment? So if we can't live without attachment and attachment is being called Maya, then it is terrible, no? How will I be free? How can I live if I can't live without attachment? Socho. Something which is a natural way of life for me is being called Maya. If we are saying attachment, we can't live without. Attachment is going to be natural, and I will be attached. Then it's supposed to be my swabhav, no? Why is it Maya? You may disagree saying Swamiji Tulsidaji's definition only is wrong. 14th century he defined Maya like that. Today we are in modern times. Today that definition of Maya is not applicable.
Attachment is a swabhav, not a swarup. It's the nature of man, and identification with man is Maya. Meaning identifying myself as man is Maya.
Okay, so that is again coming back to what she says Vedantic way. So identifying with the body, then I feel I am a man or a woman, and then I feel attached. So that identification is Maya, understandable. But why attachment is Maya then? If I identify with as a human being, and if a human being can't live, it's like saying breathing is Maya. I can't live without breathing, no? Breathing is required. And all of you said attachment is natural, one can't live without attachment. So then why is that attachment being called Maya?
Illusionary. Even the attachments we feel, they are the essence and pillars of our strength, but they are also temporary and illusionary. So is Maya.
So is the definition of Maya that which is temporary? So is anything which is temporary called Maya?
That which is not but appears to be.
So go by the definition. That which is not but which appears to be is one definition of Maya, which comes from the etymology by reversing the word Maya. Ya ma sa Maya. That which is not but which appears to be is Maya. So if that which is not and appears to be is Maya, some examples are what? Mirage appears. So it appears that there is water there, but actually there is no water. So it's an illusion. Like that, give me some more examples of what is illusory.
Rope and snake.
This rope and snake, the most
Okay,
famous
rope
one.
and snake. Any other? Bas, only though.
Horizon.
So many things, na? You can say sky is blue. It's actually not blue, but it appears to be blue. Horizon, so there appears to be some boundary, but there is no boundary. So water also appears blue in the sense of the ocean, but the water also doesn't have lot of things. Earth appears stationary, but it is moving. So many examples one can give of that. So that which is not but which appears to be. Now if you apply that to attachment, now tell me why is attachment called Maya? अब तो बहुत सिंपल हो जाएगा.
Happiness I'll get from that extreme. I'll get happiness from that. But I don't need it all the time.
I will get happiness from that, but I don't get it all the time. But for some time till I get it is not Maya.
It comes and goes. No, it is Maya.
Attachment is I plus I want. I'm thinking I'm getting happiness from there, and that is the biggest Maya. That is not want.
So attachment is a psychological dependence. Gurudev used to define attachment as this: I plus I want, where I want is a psychological dependence. It's not that wanting anything is wrong. But if I say that without this my life is not happy, this person, this thing, or this way of behavior, or this particular result, those psychological dependencies, they are called as Maya. They are called as my attachments. So I plus I want is attachment, is what Gurudev used to define. So that notion that without this I can't be happy, that is called Maya. Because it is not true. It is an illusion created by our own mind. Without my son I can't be happy. Without my spouse I can't be happy. Without this status I can't be happy. Without that money I can't be happy. Things and people and situations may be required functionally for certain things, but my happiness actually doesn't depend on any of them. And that's why that equation I plus this object is equal to happiness, what we create. I want this object. Suppose you say, if you remove that psychological dependence, you will get I is equal to happiness, which is what Vedanta says. Our Swarupa is happiness. And unnecessarily we are clinging on to various things and then depending on them for our happiness. And yes, we do get some temporary pleasure out of it, but it brings a lot of sorrow also. The deeper my attachment is, the deeper will be my sorrow. Lesser my attachment, lesser is the sorrow. And no attachment, no sorrow. So in the beginning, when the question was asked that can we be without attachment, many of you said no. It is a general question, not specifically asking for you as a person, but in general, can a person be without attachment or not? If I can't be, then why am I on the spiritual path? Swamiji, from lot of attachment, I come to little bit attachment. Thoda attachment rahega, for that I am on the spiritual path. Vedanta actually tells us, no, your nature is detachment. Think about that. We don't have to cultivate detachment separately. If we understand our nature is detachment already. Why do we say our nature is detachment? We don't experience it apparently. We think our nature is attachment and we get attached easily to things, to people, to some enjoyments. But Vedanta says even at that point in time your nature actually is detachment. I'm not talking as Brahman, as consciousness, even at the mind level. Detachment is our nature. And that is why to think that attachment will bring happiness is Maya. And that's why we keep getting in bondage. Because detachment is our nature. Now, why is detachment our nature? Think some beautiful reasonings will come out if you think about that. Have you experienced detachment? Yes?
Yes.
I'm not talking about disinterest. Huh? Don't say, Swamiji, I was so much in love when I married. Now I'm very detached. You may be detached also. I may be mixing up detachment and disinterest in that situation, but some people think detachment is disinterest. I'm not talking about disinterest. Disinterest is I know what I need to do, but I don't care about it. I'm not interested. I'm lazy, lethargic, or I avoid, procrastinate, all that. I'm not talking about that. Detachment is our nature. But we are believing that attachment is my nature. So why is Vedanta saying detachment is your nature? And do we experience it in daily life? Again, at any point in time, you are welcome to say, no, I don't believe this. That freedom is there in Vedanta and in Chinmaya mission. Gurudev always said, you don't have to believe because I'm saying, you think for yourself. So is detachment really our nature? As even an individual.
Yes, indirectly, because directly when the attachment is there, our minds are clouded, our path is, the vision is blurred. So indirectly, if you're attached, you're not heading towards permanent happiness. So if you're indirectly detached that way, the fogginess of clarity of your mind is much better, and the path you're trying to pursue becomes a little more illuminating.
So because I'm attached, indirectly there is something called detachment, and so when this fogging and attachment goes, then I will come back to detachment. That's what you are saying, right? But Vedanta is saying that even when you are attached, you are actually detached. Your nature is detachment in and through all attachments also. Yes.
It blocks like happiness, no? What we are pursuing.
That's the result of that attachment. But why does Vedanta say that you are detached actually?
Because our true nature is bliss.
That is Brahman level.
Yeah.
Correct.
So we need not get our joy, or we need not get attached to things to experience that joy which we think the objects they give us. So so detachment will make us see our true nature, which is bliss.
So then detachment becomes a means. So when I understand clearly that I don't have to depend on anything for my happiness, then detachment becomes a means for me to let go of my attachments. Then I will be able to realize my nature as bliss. There it becomes a means. Vedanta is saying even right now your nature is detachment only. It's a wrong notion that we have accepted that I am, so attachment is my nature.
So every time we get into deep sleep, we are detached from our mind, intellect, body, and
So one example is deep sleep. Every night we go into deep sleep and all attachments drop or not. We let go of all. However powerful it may be. Whatever we may think during the day that I can't live without this person or that thing or this money, everything we let go when we go into deep sleep, and that's why we feel very happy in that state. When we have dropped all attachments, we are back to the state where we are free from all attachments and we are happy. That is only one experience, but every night that happens. Even the most attached person will drop and come into that state of detachment. Only thing is that time ignorance is there, so I don't know. So that is one experience.
Because in deep sleep, the identification with me and my drops.
Correct.
That's the reason attachment drops.
Correct. So it becomes dormant for that time because identification with BMI is not there. So attachments which are in the mind, which is actually only a thought bondage. Gurudev says very beautifully in his talk on attachment. Attachment is a thought bondage. A thought bondage means what? It is a bondage created by us because of repeated brooding. It is actually not a bondage. It is not real. Like I plus money is equal to happiness. I have repeated that in my head and created that thought bondage. By itself, I just need money for whatever functional convenience, but beyond that, nothing more. Now, I have created that reputation of mine, status of mine, self-esteem of mine, connecting it to money, and now I need that. So, without that, I can't be happy. Now, that is a thought bondage I have created. In deep sleep, that thought bondage is temporarily put aside. But at least we know that we can drop all those and yet we can be happy. So deep sleep is something that makes us aware, if we reflect on deep sleep, that I can be happy without anything. That is one aspect. And do you know, if we go now little more into this experience of our daily life, deep sleep though now whole day we can't keep sleeping. Though there are people who are very adept at that and they can sleep anywhere, anytime, anyhow. And especially in satsang they get sleep very nicely. Why? And especially in my talks. Because I don't do too much of joking around and fooling around and too many jokes and this and that. Nothing. Intense inquiry. So after some time exhausted. Sleep. Because Brahmaji gave a boon, to Nidra Devi. He gave, when he did the creation, he gave an abode to everyone. You stay here, you stay here, you stay here, like that. So he gave the boon to Nidra Devi that your abode will be satsang. So you can go and recite. So people come to satsang and then sleep. And sometimes they are under the delusion that they experience deep samadhi. Direct experience of Turiya Avastha, straight. So deep sleep we can't do whole day. In the night whenever we sleep or whatever time we sleep in the day also, sometimes we get deep sleep. So that time we can experience, we infer that detachment is my nature. But do you know, through the day also, including through all sense enjoyments, our senses also teach us detachment. It's very amazing. When we say detachment is our nature, it's not only as Brahman. Our senses teach us detachment. Swamiji, senses are the cause of our attachment. How are they teaching detachment? Because of these senses only I am attached. Pakoda has to come in front of me and this rainy season, pakoda, garam chai, I can't resist that. And one book has to be in my hand. I can forget the world. That fried food, sweet food, some music, some movie, some this, some that, My senses are the cause of my extrovertedness, my attachment. And how are you saying senses create detachment? You think about that. Is our tongue detached or not? Does it hold on to any taste? However loving, however tasty some food may be offered to you with lot of love, you eat it. Suppose you like rasgulla, will you keep the rasgulla all the time on the tongue? No, I don't want to let go. I just love it. So I keep chewing it. Even chewing gum, after a point, what will happen? I have to spit it, no?
Momentary joy, we get from the tongue also.
You get momentary joy, but the tongue is teaching you something, no? It is not holding on to that one taste, right? It is swallowing it. For a few moments it is there on it and it goes. It has all different tastes. So many taste buds are on the tongue. Whichever food you eat, whatever taste it is, you experience and then it drops it. It is not attached to any one. Same way our eyes, do they get attached to the form? They actually don't get attached to the form. If they get attached, they fixated, then they can't see anything else. So even our senses will teach us detachment. What we see, hear, taste, smell, touch, we engage with something, leave it, engage with something else. It will keep happening continuously. Yes, in that we get attached to something which is our thought bondage. By itself, the senses are not attached. And that's the only reason we are able to enjoy so much. So the equation in our head that attachment is equal to enjoyment and detachment is equal to sorrow, that has to be removed. That is a delusion. That is Maya. And so we think because attachment is equal to happiness, so we feel it is natural to be attached. How can I not be attached to my child and to my family and to whatever, position, power, all that. But the equation is wrong. Attachment is not equal to happiness. And detachment is not equal to sorrow. Detachment actually brings happiness. Have you studied Bhaj Govindam, all of you?
Yes.
In the classes you must have done Bhaj Govindam, right? In that one line comes, Kasya sukham na karoti viragaha. What happiness is not available to a person who has detachment and dispassion. So detachment is happiness. Why do we get so much of happiness in deep sleep? Because of detachment. In the daytime also. Our nature is detachment. That's why we can't hold on to one for a long time. However noble a thought may be, can we cling to that one thought alone? It will change. And the mind will go to something else. So the mind can't get fixated completely on one because its nature is to drop. It's not the nature of the mind to cling. Holding on to this is more requiring more effort, or dropping this is requiring more effort.
Holding on. Holding on.
Think. If I have to hold this continuously. If you want frozen shoulder, try.
Yeah.
The weight of this is how much? Maybe some 100 gram, 50 gram, whatever it is. So I hold it. Right now it will seem that much only, some 100 grams or something. And then as the duration increases, this will become more and more heavier. The bottle remains the same, weight remains the same, but the longer I hold, the heavier it appears to be. And then to keep on holding this, that requires so much more effort. To drop it, easy, just put it aside. But in the mind, it appears to be ulta. In the mind, attachment appears to be very easy and detachment appears to be very difficult. That's why it is Maya. That which is not but which appears to be. Detachment is my nature, but it makes attachment appear as my nature. And then one is bound. Dhritarashtra thought that without his son being the king, he can't be happy. First he thought he can't be happy without him being the king. Because he is supposed to be the king, he is the eldest one. But he couldn't become the king because he was blind. And what did fate do finally? Pandu had to leave the kingdom. He on his own he left the kingdom and he went. And Dhritarashtra became the caretaker king. But did he become happy? No. Because that's the trick of the mind. So when he was not the king, he felt if I become the king, I will be happy. Now he became the king. Still he is not happy. Now he says, my son should become the king. So my son should be born first. Now there is a competition between them. Who will give birth to the child first? Whether Gandhari will give birth first or Kunti and Madri will give birth first. And Gandhari had got a boon from Shivji. 100 sons she will have. And she is pregnant also. But so many months passed, year passed, child is not getting born. And there who is born? Yudhishthir is born. Gone. Now Yudhishthir becomes the rightful owner of this throne. Think about it. Every time something or the other keeps happening, we think that with this I will become happy. Then when we get there, for some time we are happy, then again the mind plays a trick. Now I want that. Now I want to become this. Now I want to go there. Now this is Maya, where one puts one happiness on something else and then one chases that. Then one achieves that, then again one will chase the next one. So does that mean in life we should not achieve anything, we should not aspire for anything? No. Then if I am aspiring for something, then I am chasing, then I am in Maya. Boli? Don't put your happiness there. Then why will I pursue it?
But you have to be attached to your goal, otherwise you won't get to your goal.
I see that. So goal का attachment चाहिए तो फिर how? So do I have to be attached to achieve my goal, or do I have to be detached to actually achieve the goal? See, these are different facets of attachment, and why attachment is being called Maya. One is relationships and objects, we saw. That mind creates that dependency when the fact is detachment is our nature. Mind can't hold on to one, senses can't hold on to one, it will keep changing. Same way the goal also. If I am not attached to the goal, I will not reach. Is that true? I have to be inspired by my goal. I should love my goal. I should have focus about my goal. But I should be detached to reach my goal. Manu Bhakar, she won the gold for us. What did she say when she won? Did you hear the clip? She spoke she said, I believe in the Gita and I have always read and I followed this philosophy that work is in your hand. Don't worry about the results. You focus more on your action. That detachment from the anxiety for the result has to be there if I have to achieve the goal. If I don't have that detachment, what will happen? My performance will get affected. Then all the more chances that I will not achieve my goal. So to achieve my goal also I need detachment. Whatever may be the goal. Financial goal, sports, life goals I may have. Anything else, social goals, relationship goals, whichever goals I set up. I must have detachment. And that detachment only will lead me to the goal, and I will enjoy the journey also, and I will be able to accept the results also as they come. So detachment is actually my nature. So if I am a student of Vedanta, I have to undo these wrong notions, because these wrong notions is what keeps us bound. It is not externally anybody binding us. My wrong notions bind me, and if I drop those wrong notions, I am liberated. And so Vedanta says, मैं और मोर तोर तेई Maya. At a Vyavahar level, that is the definition of Maya. I and me, you and yours, that psychological dependence is Maya. So one should make one list. What are those things on which my happiness depends? Which are the things on which I am attached? Things, people, situations, whatever it is. And then what is the thought bondage, thought reasoning behind that? That without this I can't be happy. Why? What have I created in my head? If I undo that, slowly I will become detached from it. I will still enjoy that. If I have to engage with it, I will still enjoy. There is nothing wrong. In fact, the more the detachment is, the more the enjoyment will be there. Attachment will make us miserable, dependent completely. But detachment will make us enjoy. That's what I keep saying. You must have heard me before on that. It is called what? Detachment is called wow. With or without. With a certain money, you say wow. Without a certain money also, wow. With a certain promotion, wow. Without a certain promotion, wow. I will enjoy. But if I don't have this attitude, small things can also disturb me. Most difficult situations, when they come, I am not able to face them. So this attachment is Maya, because it takes me away from who I am, even as a jiva who I am. How many bodies we have taken? Think about that. Have we not taken so many bodies? स्वामी जी पता नहीं पिछला जन्म था कि नहीं, अगला जन्म है कि नहीं. Forget that. Even in one life, we have changed so many bodies or not. Every time that research keeps updating. Sometimes we say 7 years. Nowadays they are saying every few years. Sometimes they say it is 1 year. पता नहीं क्या क्या है. वो science keeps developing. It's all right. But the point is, suppose I'm 50 years old, 60 years old. At least 5-7 bodies I would have already taken. Full body has changed. So which body am I? Swamiji, I am all those bodies. But we let go, no? And even lifetimes we have dropped so many physical bodies and taken new bodies. If a jiva is not detached, the jiva can't move to the next body. A very, very attached jiva, nature will have to push a lot for that jiva to drop the attachment and go to the next body, but still nature will create that opportunity and then one will go to the next body. So detachment is my nature, detachment from the body, detachment from people, detachment from things, everywhere. And so what is not my nature but which appears to be the delusion that is Maya. That my nature is attachment, that delusion is Maya. So this is one definition, one understanding of Maya, and which if we start applying, if we start becoming detached, then the deeper Vedantic definition of Maya becomes more easy to comprehend and then to get out of. So what is the Vedantic understanding of Maya?
Before that, you said detachment is the nature. By default, the mind goes from one to the other because, like you said, the taste buds and things. At the same time, attachment is also seeking out something else. So how does one explain that? If detachment is also seeking and attachment is also seeking, how does one explain that?
Attachment is not seeking. Attachment is brooding to create a certain psychological bondage which then makes me seek. If you see the ladder of fall, in that it comes dhyayato vishayan pumsaha sangasteshu upajayate. By brooding over sense pleasures, I create a thought bondage. That is called attachment. So, what example suppose we give? Let us say now some September, iPhone 16 will come now. Now I start brooding, iPhone 16, and in that there's Apple Intelligence, and my life will become so much easier with that Apple Intelligence embedded in that iOS, and what all I can do, and I can show off to people, and I will get the first phone. Now I'm brooding. Now I created an attachment that I plus this iPhone is equal to happiness. Now that thought bondage creates a desire. Sangasteshu pajayate, sangar sanjayate kama. Now that kama has come. Detachment is what? It will naturally switch, not out of desire or brooding. This tongue will not be able to hold on to anything, not because of any desire or brooding. It has to drop, it will change, it will leave. Because nature has been created, nature has created it like that. The senses will not cling to anything. If it clings to any one taste, it will not be able to have other tastes. So it has to drop. Same way with the mind also. The mind's nature is to engage and withdraw, engage and withdraw. But in that engagement, I have created a thought bondage. Withdrawal is natural for the mind. Engage, withdraw. That is the nature of senses and the mind both. That's why the example given is of the tortoise in the second chapter. As long as everything is conducive, the tortoise engages, and when something is dangerous, threatening, it will immediately withdraw. So engaging and withdrawing is the nature of this equipment, which is what happens every day. We engage through the daytime and then sleep we withdraw. Again we engage, again we withdraw. So that's a natural process. In that, some desire has been created, which again I am saying is not a problem by itself. A desire is not a problem by itself, but the brooding where I create a dependency that without this I can't be happy, that is attachment. Now that creates all trouble. Otherwise by itself a desire will not bind. Even a selfless desire to serve, it's a desire only. Like Gurudev had the desire that I must share this knowledge with maximum people. It's a desire. But his psychological happiness does not depend on the desire. He left the Himalayas and he came, did the first talk in which city? Pune. Which year? Sevikas don't answer, let others answer. Which year did Gurudev start his first talk? 19? Who said? 1951. You are saying? 53. Both are correct for different reasons. First talk happened in 1951. Which date does anybody remember? Date. 1951. Which date was the first talk? Pune, you got it right. 51, you got it right. Date. चलो डेट के पहले मंथ पे आ जाओ. Which one? 19th April? No. The 19th April is for some other reason. 19th April is supposed to be the Tithi birthday of Gurudev in 1916. 19th April was Ram Navami day. So that is the Tithi birthday actually. Anyway, coming back. Which was the first talk? Which date and month? 51 is the year correct. 23rd December. 23rd December 1951, the first talk he gave in Pune, in Rastapet temple, and 6 people including the listener, including the speaker. If you have left the Himalayas, Gangaji, Tapovan Maharaj, all these beautiful sacred things and the peace and the quietude, and you have come down with the great missionary zeal that I will bring this knowledge to the masses and create a cultural revival and bring a renaissance in the country, and in your talk there are 5 people in the first talk, what will you think? Either we may say that chalo, pack up the bags and go. I don't think people have any demand for this. Why waste my time? I can as well sit quietly in the mountains. My Guru already told me, those who are interested will come here. Why go down? Maybe I should have heard, I was over enthusiastic and I came. Gurudev could have thought that. But what did he think on that day? He said in the next 7 days, we will start a 100-day yajna. So, 31st December 1951, he started a 100-day yajna. In first talk, if we have 5 people, and that time no publicity, nothing, no organization, no team, nothing he has. He says 100 days yajna. Today with all our committees and teams and everything, in our talk, if 700 people, Bharatiya Vidya Bhavan, if we get 100 people, we feel dejected. अरे कितना मेहनत किया, कोई नहीं आता है, क्या फायदा होगा? He did it because of his sadhana. So he had a desire, he came down, but that desire didn't bind him. So desire by itself doesn't bind. If I attach my psychological self-esteem with that when the audience is full, then I feel happy. If the audience is less, what is the point? That is my psychological dependency I created. That doesn't mean we don't work hard, saying, Swamiji, you be happy with whatever comes. We do work, we inspire people, that's our duty, we do our seva. Then whoever comes will come. Unka prarabdha hai. If they come, they will come. If they don't come, they won't come. Doesn't matter. So that detachment when we have, then there is no problem. So desire also by itself doesn't create attachment. It is my psychological brooding that creates attachment. Otherwise we will keep moving. Natural course of life, detachment will happen. Did we grow out of childhood toys naturally or not? Is that detachment or not? Maybe at some point in time, sometimes to few children, the parents have to force them saying, now enough, you have grown up, drop this. But otherwise, generally one will just grow out of it.
But we do attach to something else. That's the issue.
Correct. So in that example, that's a limitation, that we may get attached to something else, but that whole point is to tell us that when you grew out of the childhood toys, that was not a painful process. So attachment is not a painful process. It will happen. And that same example we have to take to say that just like we had something else we got attached to and dropped the lower attachments, in the world what is that which we can get attached to? If we get attached to things and people, it will only pull us down more and more. So get attached to Bhagavan. Get attached to those people who are detached. So if you get attached to those who are detached, they will detach you from your attachment. That's the simple thing. That's why one holds on to the Guru, one holds on to Bhagavan, and then get detached. So detachment is our nature. So now this is one aspect of Maya. Attachment is not my nature. Attachment makes me, Maya makes me feel attachment is my nature. So that is delusion. Mai or more tortei Maya. That is one level. If I work on this detachment, then I come to understand that my Swarupa is happiness. My nature is Sachidanand. And so is this whole world. Now comes the Vedantic understanding of Maya. So in Tattva Bodh, what did we learn about Maya? What is Maya? Avaran. That's the methodology of Maya. What exactly is Maya? So it is first and foremost the power of Brahman. Why is Maya even there? Because if the nature of the Supreme Truth is complete bliss and the nature of the Supreme Truth is changelessness, the world that we are seeing in front of us is fully changing, perishable, and there is so much sorrow. If the ultimate truth is the cause, then how can that changeless produce a changing world? How can that which is full of happiness produce a world where there is so much of sorrow? So to explain that, this understanding of Maya is important. So the definition in Tattva Bodh is what? Brahmashraya Sattva Rajas Tamo Gunatmika Maya Asti. It is a power of Brahman that without undergoing any change, Maya makes that Brahman which is changeless appear as changing. Please remember, Brahman has not gone through any change. But without undergoing any modification, that inherent power of Brahman is Maya, which makes the changeless appear as the changing. It is a delusory power. So, when we say, for example, the example given is the waker. Waker is lying on the bed happily, dreaming away to glory. Created a whole dream world, went to Paris, attended the Olympics also, and then went to Wimbledon, saw the matches there also, and then thought at one point in time that I went and shook the hand with somebody, whoever is the winner of the Wimbledon. What is that person's name? I forgot. Huh? Alcaraz. I took a selfie with him also. All that, one imagined this whole thing. But where is this person? On his bed. Without undergoing any change, this waker appears as the dream creator, the dream world, the dream characters, everything. Same way, without undergoing any change, this pure consciousness appears to be the whole world and changing. So Maya has to be understood from different standpoints. So 3 standpoints we have to understand Maya. Standpoint number 1 is from the standpoint of Supreme Brahman, where there is no Srishti, there is no creation, there is no Maya also. Because there is only non-duality, one truth. But you and I are seeing this. So from absolute level, there is no Maya because there is no creation. But that's the absolute level, highest level. From the relative level, if I see the creation, then Maya exists. Why? Because the changing creation I am seeing. And the changeless, can it produce any creation? By definition, that which is changeless cannot produce any creation because it is changeless. Yet there is a changing world. From where did it come? So Maya is the cause. So from relative standpoint, the world standpoint, Maya is the cause which makes Brahman appear as this whole creation. And from its own standpoint, without resorting to Brahman or the creation, if I have to describe Maya by itself, it is indescribable. How to describe that Maya? It does not have parts. It does not have, it's not a, you can't say it exists, nor you can't say it does not exist. Because from Brahman's standpoint, it does not exist. From relative standpoint, it exists. But from its own standpoint, it neither exists nor does not exist. So, when we understand Maya, Maya is the inherent power of Brahman. It is not an independent power. It is a power that is the locus of that is Brahman. Any power, can that power exist independent or it needs a locus? Suppose you have the power to listen, I have the power to speak as of now. So, that power exists independent or it exists in you? It has to be in you or me, no? There is a locus of the power. It does not exist just like that. Especially if it is a use of that power. Some entity is using that power. So in that same way, Brahman is the base. Maya is not an independent power. It is the power of Brahman. Brahmashraya. And what is the nature of that Maya? Sattva, Rajas, Tamo, Gunatmika. It is of the nature of three gunas. Sattva, Rajas and Tamas. How do we know their Maya has three gunas? Just because scripture is saying Maya has three gunas, do we accept? Is there any proof that Maya has three gunas? What is the proof of Maya's three gunas? No, this is good. What is the proof of Maya's three gunas?
Our own behavior it's manifesting in through sattva, rajas and tamas, which is daily we are doing that. That's one proof.
Very good. So our behavior, things in the world we see, all this is a proof actually. If you analyze the effect, you can know the cause, right? Mud pot. If you analyze what is the cause of the mud pot, one will analyze. When we examine the pot, then we know what the cause is the mud. Same way, when we analyze the whole creation, in that we are also included. So we see three principles. Principle of inertia, that's the static thing. General, what science says, inertia is the regular nature of a thing, and then force is applied to it, then only there will be some action, some movement will happen. Otherwise it is inertia. Things are by itself like that. So law of inertia we see in us, outside us, so much of inertia. One fellow was there, he was sleeping in the office. So the boss came and he said, "You are sleeping here also?" He said, "Yes." "What to do? I have a very rare disease. The disease is called PPPI. He says, "What is PPPI? Never heard of that disease." He says, "Yeah, but it's a terrible disease. It is physical, physiological, psychological inertia, which means sleep." So law of inertia, tamoguna, we see principle of tamas everywhere. Then there's principle of activity, so much dynamism in the whole creation. and principle of knowledge, which is sattva. So tamas, rajas and sattva. Analyzing the effect, we come to infer that this must be in the cause. Actually what we are seeing is an expression of three gunas. We are not seeing three gunas. We are only seeing expressions of three gunas in the form of this creation. And so we are inferring that yes, in the Maya there should be the three gunas. So three gunas are the nature of Maya. And so if I cross the three gunas, I have crossed Maya. So one of the ways to get out of Maya is that. From tamas come to rajas, from rajas to sattva, sattva to beyond. That's the exit route. So Maya is this sattva, rajas, tamo gunatmika. Now how does this Maya function? So the methodology of Maya is what she was saying. 2 steps Maya functions in. What are those 2 steps? Veiling and Avarana and Vikshep. So veiling on one hand and projection on the other hand. So in the example of the dream, tell me how does veiling and projection work? Waker and dreamer, how does...
So you have the waker's veil and then the dreamer projects.
Correct, simple. Now waker gets veiled, so the identity of the waker is not apparent to that waker at that moment, and then the dream identity gets projected. I am the dreamer, and then the dream world and all the dream creatures. Same way, Brahman is veiled on one hand, which means what? My true nature is veiled. Who I am, I don't know. Now I am thinking of myself to be this BMI. At the individual level, that's what happens. At the total level, similarly, Brahman is veiled, and using the power of Maya, Brahman becomes what? Brahman plus Maya is equal to Jagat. Ishwar. Remember the definition. Brahman plus Maya is equal to Ishwar, the creator. That creator then creates, sustains, destroys. But that whole creation, sustenance and destruction, is it a production or is it a projection?
Projection.
Don't forget that. Purpose of understanding Maya is that this is a projection. And because this is a projection, it is illusion. It is not true. Dream is a projection or a production? Swamiji, what is the difference? It can be called as a production also. Why is it only a projection? Because of this veiling and projection. Because there is a veiling happening on one hand and projection happening, so the projection when it is dropped, veiling when it is removed, the truth reveals. If the projection was real, in production it becomes real. Here it is not real. So you produce a pot from the mud. Is it equal to producing the dream from your mind? Think. A pot has a utility value. I can use for whatever, storing liquid, something, I can use it. It has some real utility value. The dream projection, nothing, it's illusory. So that's why it's a projection. And because it's a projection, right knowledge will end it. And that's the saving grace. If it was actually a production, we would have been bound, we would never be able to get out of it. So Maya, on one hand, if I understand, it is an illusory projection. It will veil the truth on one hand, project it on the other hand. And that veiling and projection is the trick, is the play of Maya. In that projection, the 3 gunas which are there, tamas and rajas will bind us more and more to the projection, make us think that that is very real, and we run behind it. It is sattva guna which is the exit route. So in the 3 gunas, 2 are binding and 1 is liberating. And that's why Gita says, Bhagavan says to Arjun in the Gita, Nitya Sattvastha Bhava. Arjun, more and more anchor in sattva guna. The more I anchor in quietude, peace, balance, knowledge, contemplativeness, non-reactive attitude, the more the mind will become subtle and it can drop this projection. Drop the projection means it will understand this whole thing is illusory, so it's psychological thought bondage, no? That will be dropped. Don't worry that, oh my God, it will drop the projection means I will not recognize my family members. I will not know who am I also. If somebody asks me who are you, I will say Sachidananda Swarup Brahman. Will you eat? No, I don't have a body. Are you born? No, I am unborn. It will not happen like that. The thought bondage just goes. The illusory reality we have given to it is gone. And the best example for that is the actor and the role that the actor plays. The actor knows very well this is not me, but will play the role. And that actor is so capable that after every few hours the actor can change the role and get into another role and play that role beautifully. Why? Because the actor knows that I am not this role at all. Very secured in the knowledge of my reality. Who I am is different. That once one gets. So that's the understanding of Maya, that through veiling and projection, it keeps us bound. And to get out of that Maya, what has to be done? So either do this path where we say, so principle is simple, cultivate Sattva Guna. Now how to cultivate Sattva Guna? There are different paths for that. From Bhakti Marg it is said to get out of Maya, what should you do? Surrender to Ishvara. Because it is Ishvara's power, Ishvara's projection. He has to withdraw it, then you are free. So one says in the 7th chapter, what does the Gita say? Devi Hyesha Gunamayi Mama Maya Duratyaya Mameva Ye Prapadyante Maya Metam Tarantite. That this is my divine power. Krishna Bhagavan says in that Gita. This is my divine power. Meaning Ishvara's power it is. Gunamayi, it is 3 gunas. Sattva, Rajas, Tamas. And very difficult to cross. Duratyaya. Not easy to cross this Maya at all. Why? Because Maya will not even make us aware of the bondage. Maya does not make us have the desire to get out of it. It keeps us engaged. Why? Because we don't inquire. Lack of inquiry. That's all. So it's very difficult to cross. Some or the other attachment. In the world, how will Maya come up? Through attachments. By making us feel that without this I can't be happy. And all the attachments are classified into 3 by Ramakrishna Paramahamsa. Kamini, Kanchan, Kirti. Pleasure, prosperity and what is that? Popularity. All that. Kamini, Kanchan, Kirti. All attachments will finally come into this much. So, if I am attached so strongly, I may study Vedanta, I may say I am Brahman. Like our Guruji, Swami Tejomayananji says, we campaign for Brahman but vote for Maya. That's what happens. In the class, our campaign is, yes, I am Brahman. Brahman alone is the truth. There is no happiness in the world outside. And as soon as the class is over, go and vote for Maya. So very difficult to cross. Because of my attachments, because of the wrong notions, because I don't inquire. So one step is what? From Bhakti standpoint, Bhagavan says, Mameva ye prapadyante. Whoever surrenders to me, Maya metam tarantiti, they will cross. And the beautiful example given for that is, in a lake, there was a talk between some of the fishes in the lake. They came to know that there is a fisherman who is planning to come the next day and he is going to trap all the fishes. So each of them is worried what to do, where will we go, this fisherman is going to cast the net, this, that, and they all are worried that they can't find any solution. And next day as usual the fisherman came, he cast the net. Most of them they got caught in that and they got killed. Few fishes escaped. How? Because they were at the feet of the fisherman. So that example is given that if the jiva surrenders to Ishvara, Ishvara has cast the net of Maya in the whole Srishti, we are the jivas caught in that. If one surrenders to Ishvara, goes at the feet of the Lord, then one is saved because the net will not come near there. It is everywhere else. So from bhakti standpoint, if we say Sharanagati is the method, surrender to Bhagavan, accept results as they come, dedicate actions to Bhagavan, be a nimitta. So that is the equation for Karma Yoga. What is equation for Karma Yoga? KY is equal to PB plus IB plus NB. Prasad Buddhi plus Ishwar Arpan Buddhi plus Nimitta Bhav. Pin, you have to remember pin. If the mind is pinned to Karma Yoga, exit. So Karma Yoga and Bhakti Yoga, they go hand in hand. I can't do Karma Yoga without Bhakti Yoga. So when Bhagavan says, Mameva ye prapadyante, whoever takes my refuge will be freed. So Karma and Bhakti Yoga method is this, free oneself from this Maya. What is Jnana Yoga method? Panchadashi Vidyaranya Swami says very nicely, Vicharam na sahate Maya. Maya will not bear enquiry. Avicharena krito bandha vicharena nivartate. Bondage is created by us by lack of thinking, lack of right thinking. I've assumed myself to be the body, I've assumed the world to be real, I'm assuming happiness in the world outside. So many assumptions are created. Maya thrives in that assumptions. If I inquire into each of those assumptions, vicharam na sahate Maya. Maya cannot bear inquiry. And one nice example Ramana Maharshi gives for that. And that example is of crashing the wedding. You know, somebody crashes into some wedding uninvited and goes inside and goes to the dinner counters and takes the food, and when somebody asks from which side you are, so if boy side asks, he will say I am from girl side. From girl side if they ask, he will say I am from boy side. Now if each of them are independently asking, then this fellow will thrive there. But when he sees that both of them have come together and they are wondering who is this fellow, quietly this fellow puts his plate and slips out. Why? Because inquiry has started about him. Same way, as long as we don't inquire, this ego thrives happily. But when the seeker and the guru come together and they inquire, who is this? Who is this Mr. So-and-so? That Mr. So-and-so has to disappear because it's not real. So inquiry is another method to get out of Maya. Who am I inquiry, or what we study in Vedanta, Shravan, Manan and Nididhyasana. Listen to the Mahavakya from the teacher, reflect on it, contemplate on it, one will get out of Maya. But for us to do that, what should have happened earlier? Detachment should have happened, Karma Yoga attitude should have been anchored in. Then only this will happen properly. So this much is about Maya. Anything you want to ask, share, welcome.
Isn't Ishwar a projection?
Is Ishvara?
Projection.
Whose projection?
From our standpoint.
So you have to think now, if Ishvara is our projection, then who are we? We are then before Ishvara. How that is possible?
No, and from the Brahman standpoint.
So from Brahman standpoint, is Ishvara projection? That is what one has to inquire. The equation that we saw now, Brahman plus Maya is equal to Ishvara.
So Maya is a projection.
Maya is a projecting power. Maya is a projecting power of Brahman. So using Maya, Brahman only appears as Ishvara. So yes, if I am seeing the creation, if for me creation is real, I need to know from where it came. Brahman can't create, I can't create, world can't come on its own into existence just by itself. So there has to be a cause which is other than I, which is other than the world, which is other than Brahman. So then who is that? The creator is Ishvara. And so from the standpoint of the world, we say yes, Ishvara is the creator because I am seeing the world. And so in that context, if you say from Brahman standpoint, Brahman only appears as the Ishvara. So it is a projection.
But Swamiji, technically, from Brahman's standpoint, there can be no question.
No, that is true, but that's why this question will arise only from duality. No,
Exactly.
from Brahman standpoint, there is no srishti at all. So obviously, there is no projection, nothing. That non-dual level only is the truth.
Exactly, but very often the confusion comes over there that my true nature is Brahman, I am Brahman, and Ishwar is a projection.
No.
That is a very
One minute.
mixing of standpoints there.
Correct. So if I am Brahman, there is no srishti, Baba. Projection का सवाल कहाँ से आएगा? If I am Brahman, कहाँ duality है क्या? Then where is the question of srishti? Where is the question of Ishvara? Where is the question of mukti or bandhan? Nothing. Very simple, no? अरे simplest standpoint is Brahman standpoint. कुछ भी नहीं है वहाँ. There is only Brahman. The moment you come to Brahman standpoint, everything stops. No questions only you can ask. That's why many times it is easiest. You are Brahman, khatam baat. If you don't know answer, no, it's all illusory. Brahman is your true nature, khatam. I am not joking. Many people do that. In our Vedanta discussion, when hair splitting logic is given and some discussion is happening, at some point opponent gets cornered. He says, forget all this, anyway it is mithya. You are Brahman. And that because you are not able to answer. So Brahman standpoint, no questions.
Continuing with that point, in lighter vein, sometimes we say, what was the need to create all this? So we've actually listened, studied, tried to understand Maya and the consequences and the effects of it. But is there any scriptural explanation about how and why it was about this projection?
All the Upanishads are speaking that only.
No, as in, is there an explanation given why Maya came into being? Or the projection came into being?
Every Upanishad is giving only that explanation. Because the ultimate truth is nothing came out. But the student is not at that level. Student is at duality level.
Right.
So in different ways the Upanishads are trying to explain. Because the student wants to know how it was created. So
more than how, it's sometimes why.
Both. Why and how. So why it was created. So then it will be said, Brahman alone was and he thought, let me become many. Ekoham bahusyama. Because we also feel like Ekoham bahusyama. That's how we marry. Then we have children. Then we want them to have children. So Ekoham bahusyama. So that's one standpoint. Then second standpoint is it is Leela of Bhagavan. Now that Leela of Bhagavan, when we say, people get very angry. उनकी लीला है और हम फंसे हुए हैं. उनको मजा आ रहा है और हम दुखी हैं. अरे, they are not understanding who has become this. They think Bhagavan is sitting somewhere up in the cloud and he is doing Leela and he has created all of you and then he is playing Katputli ka khel and I am suffering and pissifying in this and what is he doing? Enjoying. What a sadistic God he is. Out of my suffering he is deriving enjoyment. That is all wrong notion in our head. That's Maya. The entire dream world, if we say, is the Leela of the waking mind, who is going through all that? He only is going through all that. So there is no question of his Leela and we suffering. We are he only in another form. So either Leela or I am one, let me become many. Like that, different explanations are given. But the fact is, at the end of all explanations, it will be said, this never happened. Why did the snake get produced from the rope? Why did the rope produce the snake? Can there be any valid reason for that? Because the snake never produced a rope. That's the truth. Still, so much explanation is given. Why? Because somewhere, some logic, some explanation, if I get and my mind becomes a little quieter, then I say, okay, I want to inquire who is this Brahman, what is my nature. And when I come to realize that, then I realize what a stupid delusion it was. The whole Srishti didn't come about only, and I was going round and round thinking that, why this creation, who created and all this. And that's why the realized masters, they become quiet. Because who will talk about one's own delusion and foolishness? That what a fool I was. All the time I was Brahman and I kept thinking this whole world is real, and then God smashed in the world and then felt so much of disillusionment and all that, and then suddenly realized what none of this was real. The person who wakes up from the dream realizes that this whole thing was illusory, it was not real at all. One fellow got up from the dream, he was very miserable, crying. So the father asked, what happened? Why are you crying? He said, I dreamt, Daddy, and in my dream I failed. He says, in the dream also you failed. It is your own dream, but there at least you project that I passed. So, one who wakes up becomes quiet, saying, what a stupidity it is. There no creation came about. So, all explanations, please remember one thing as a Vedantic student, don't try to find a valid explanation for something that never happened. You will never find it. There is no valid explanation for something that never happened. And that is one of the lines of Maya Panchakam. 5 verses on Maya that Shankaracharya ji wrote. In that, every shloka at the end of it ends with this line. Aghatita ghatana patiyasi Maya. Maya is an expert in making us feel something which is real, which never happened. Aghatita ghatana, what has never come into being, the creation, Maya makes it appear very real to us. Patiyasi Maya. From Brahman there is no Srishti which has come out. If at all it has come out, because we are identified with this, so we think it has come out, so then Maya is an explanation given. Using the power of Brahman, using the power of Maya, Brahman becomes Ishvara, and then the 5 elements are created, and then the full Tattva Bodh explanation will come. Why did Brahman do that? Because Brahman thought I will become many. Started. So some reasonings will be given, and you can definitely find loopholes. Now what we think, this theory is not a foolproof theory. So I am searching for a foolproof theory. Why Bhagavan created this creation? I want a foolproof understanding of that. I will never find a foolproof understanding of it because it never happened. So every theory there will be some loophole which you can create. Whichever theory satisfies me to the best of my ability and my temperament, just go with that and inquire into Brahman. That's all is the point. Inquire into Ishvara, surrender to Ishvara, or inquire into Brahman. That's the way to exit. Otherwise, the answers will not come. Because it never happened. Because if something actually happened, then we are in deep trouble. If the changeless actually became the changing world, then changeless is no more. Then bondage is eternal, samsara is eternal, nothing will... First of all, there is nothing called eternal then, because changeless only became changing. So it will all perish. So, best is, after a point in time, understand the essence is what? This is illusory. This body is illusory, world is illusory, nature of Brahman alone is real. And today science also is saying that so clearly. 99.999 and there are 13 nines of an atom is empty space. Think about that. 99.9999999% of the atom is empty space. Yet this whole thing is appearing so solid. That is Maya. Science is saying that very clearly now. No, because it's fully empty. Kuch hai nahi wahan pe. It is void. Yet this whole thing is that 0.0000001% ka natak. Imagine. If I actually take science into consideration also, I will realize Brahman. Because it's all illusory. It is not at all real. The ground is not real. This is not real. Body is not real. Every single atom is empty space. तो फिर क्या बचा? Imagine the power of this 0.00001% of matter. Whatever science has come up with, even antimatter, no? If matter is this much, antimatter is so much more. So even if I go through scientific way, finally I have to come to this conclusion that this is illusory, it is not real. And that's the best thing to achieve. Otherwise I can go round and round. That's another trick of Maya. That's why Upanishad says very clearly, Naisha Tarkena Matirapaneya. This cannot be understood through logic. Logic can be used in some ways. It's a supportive tool. It can't prove. You cannot prove God using logic. You can only give some supporting evidences. And so Gurudev's definition is the best one. His quote, what he said, if you want to prove God, improve yourself. Improve yourself meaning you keep refining from tamas to rajas to sattva, and then you go beyond sattva through contemplation, you will come to realize. Wake up. So after a point, no more questions about why this creation happened. That presupposes so many things now. Assumptions are so many in that question. Why did God create this world? Supposition is creation is real. God actually created this world. Then there is a purpose specific behind that. Many assumptions like that. None of these are true. So if you actually question the basic assumptions in the question, it will fall apart. Only challenge is we feel dissatisfied. We feel अब हमको आंसर ही नहीं मिला. But if you actually do the inquiry, you got the answer. The deepest answer is that this never came about. So then what is the truth? That is the answer. The inquiry of this question should lead me to what is the truth. If this is illusory and this never came about, then what is the truth? So start searching for the truth rather than figuring out why this came about. And the moment I start my inquiry for the truth, I'll come to wake up. If I know that this mirage is illusory, then I will ask that question, if this is illusory, then what is there actually? Then I will come to see the sand. So the purpose of all the scriptures, etc., is only to make me realize that this is illusory, this is not real. So one can inquire at a certain level, ask those questions, get some of the understanding of Upanishads, and that's why we study so many Upanishads to understand, okay, what different Upanishads are saying about creation. Some of them will say only 3 elements are there, some will say 5 elements are there. So when we study all that, the net result is not to say that this Upanishad is right or that Upanishad is right. The net result is to understand that this is actually an explanation of something that never happened. So if this never happened, then what is the truth? So inquire into the truth. That's the purpose.
We've been having a lot of fun discussions because in one class we're doing Kenopanishad and the other we've been doing chapter 14. So we've been going a little bit round and round in these discussions.
There was one conversation we had about the truth. Maybe you can explain again.
I
The
don't
last
remember
one.
which one you are referring to.
What was the whole? Remember, Shira last one again, come back.
That I asked, I got back to you. You asked again, I'm forgetting that one.
I'm a little unclear on that. If it comes to me, I'll ask. Something about there's a time when ignorance came into being.
Yeah, I asked you that.
The time when ignorance came into being.
Yeah, so something to that effect. I think we were having a conversation.
The creation is beginningless because the cause of the creation is ignorance. So the point is ignorance and time. What is the connection? So first define time. How do we understand time? What is the meaning of time? Time is the gap between two experiences. So 2 thoughts are there, then only time can be experienced. Time can't be experienced when there are lesser than 2 thoughts. At 1 thought, time is become almost still, and at 0 thought, no time. Which happens in samadhi, which happens in deep sleep. So time is a product of mind, and once the mind is active, then time comes into play. And ignorance is the cause of the mind itself. That's why we study in Tattva Bodh, it is called the causal body. Many people call it casual body. It is causal body. The causal body is because it is the cause of both subtle body and gross body. So ignorance being the cause of the mind itself, the subtle body. When did ignorance begin? It will never be answerable. Because when ignorance is, there is no time. And I'm using when because that's a limitation of language. There is no time in that dimension of ignorance. Time is only in the dimension of duality. As a part of creation, time is created. And so we can't say which was the first creation because there is no first creation. Creation itself has time and space, which today science also says. Space and time is a continuum. It is not even two separate things, which we thought earlier is separate. So we think space, no? And so when we see two-dimensional, so two-dimensional, we will have length and whatever that, x-axis and y-axis. Then three-dimensional, that is a space, and time is the fourth dimension. So we thought there are four, but actually time and space is one. If you remove one, the other will not remain. If you remove time, space will not remain. If you remove space completely, time will not be there. So it's a time and space continuum actually. And so that is a part of the Srishti. So Srishti has to be beginningless only. There is no first creation, there is no first thought. It is beginningless. There is no first birth also. It is on. Anadi it is. Because logically also if you think, if ignorance has a beginning, what was before ignorance? Only two possibilities. Either nothing or knowledge. From nothing, something can't come out. And if knowledge was there, then there will not be ignorance. If sun is there, there is no darkness. So, ignorance has no beginning. Creation has no beginning. We as a jiva have no beginning. So, if somebody says, what is my first birth? There is no first birth technically. The cycle itself is ananta. But ending is possible. Maya is anadi, but santa. Brahman is anadi and ananta. Maya can be ended. Through right knowledge I wake up, Maya is ended. And that's what is the realization. Subtle to understand in some situations, but the point to understand is only that much, that instead of inquiring into the cause more and more and more, because there is no end, which is what Gurudev says, na? Causation hunting is a preoccupation of the buddhi, and it will go on doing causation hunting. At some point the buddhi has to be stopped. And when it will be stopped, so Gurudev gives a nice example of the pole vault. So that pole is taken, pitched in the hole, and one goes up. And there, having gone up, one will leave the pole. So using logic, using causation hunting, using inquiry, one comes to the boundary of the intellect, which is this understanding of time, timelessness, nature of Brahman, all that, and then one has to cross over. There one says all inquiry stops because Brahman alone is the truth. If you come to inquiry through logical way also, you will understand that ignorance is beginningless. So there is no point in asking about which is the first creation, when did the cycle begin. Those are all intellectual questions at a certain level, having certain assumptions. If we cross all those assumptions and will come, final step will be drop all inquiry into the world outside, inquire into who am I truly, or what is the nature of Brahman. That's all. So that is the method. But at the right time it has to be dropped. That each one only will know. And that's one of the reasons why the Guru is required. If I prematurely drop the pole, I will not be able to cross the bar. If I say that no need to take the pole only, because anyway I have to drop it, then I can't even reach the top. At the right time, drop the pole and cross over. That right time is the most important aspect.